All right, Skaz. Let me start off by saying Giannis should be fined. He should be suspended. I want to kind of throw him out of the league for the nonsense that he pulled today. If you didn't see it, and you should have watched this game, I thought this was an ESPN game. It ended up being on the local regional network, NBC Sports Boston. Fine, no problem, whatever. But Giannis did two things that were just obnoxious in this game. He throws an elbow at Jaylen Brown's face, was called for an offensive foul, and then he does the psych. I'm not going to actually apologize. I'm going to psych you out. As Jaylen Brown said post-game, Giannis, you're a child. You're an absolute 30-year-old child. If he's 30, I don't know. But doing the, oh, I'm sorry for elbowing you in the head and doing the psych thing, oh my God, send you back to elementary school. You know what we'll do? We'll make sure that you have your dino nuggets. We'll make sure that your strawberries are cut in a certain way, and we'll make sure that you have your sippy cup with the Bucks logo on it, because that apparently is how you need to be treated going forward. And then in the third quarter, if you didn't see this was absurd, and Joe Mazzulla is right when he says post-game that Giannis should have been hit with a flagrant foul when Tatum rolled his ankle. And Mazzulla is right in saying that the call was ridiculous, and the refs can't miss that. The refs were all over the place today, by the way. Ref show in Milwaukee today. But Giannis landed in Tatum's landing zone on a three-pointer in the third quarter. No call. Tatum looked like he rolled his ankle. It looked a lot worse initially, but thankfully it was just an ankle. But when did Giannis become such a child? When did he become such a baby? When did he become another one of these NBA divas? Because I thought he wasn't like that. I thought he was different. I was told that he was humble. I was told that he was appreciative of everything. Nope. He's just like another one of those NBA top 10 whiny, complainy, childish stars. He should be fined. He should be suspended. The NBA should look into banning this guy from the league for at least a month. Hi, Skaz.
Jay Stu, I'm happy to hear you coming in hot. Yeah, I thought it was Bush League play by Giannis. Landing space is always, it's like an unwritten rule in the league too, where guys like know how dangerous it is, and it's something they all try and avoid unless you're, Zaza Pachulia or something like that, trying to take out Kawhi. But yeah, I thought that was really Bush League. The handshake thing, Giannis being a child, I'm 100% with Jalen. And Taylor Snow, a good Celtics reporter, had this. Before the handshake, the Bucks were winning 42-32. After the handshake, the Celtics outscored them 81-65. So, if you're going to do the handshake, Giannis, you got to at least back it up.
You would have thought that Giannis would have learned his lesson from years ago from annoying Al Horford when Al Horford did the pose and went off on him in the playoffs. I guess not. Again, childlike attributes from a 30-year-old man who was supposed to be different, Skaz. This is what all the Bucks people, Felger, kept telling me. Giannis is different. Giannis is different. Giannis is different. He's not going to be one of those. No, he is. And he's probably backdoor and trying to get a trade out of Milwaukee, or trying to get Doc Rivers fired because he got Adrian Griffin fired. Or Dame Lillard did, or somebody did. Somebody got him fired. Some player got him fired. Because that's what happens.
How's that going for the Bucks? How's that?
I believe Doc Rivers is 19-27. So I admittedly, I woke up today and I chose violence, right? So Doc Rivers is 19-27 as Bucks head coach. But so I woke up on the early side because I usually do. I'm usually up around 5, even if it's a weekend. And I was like, you know what? It's Celtics Bucks today. What's Doc Rivers' record as Bucks head coach? So I go on Twitter, and at 6:07 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I chose violence. And the violence was tweeting out Doc Rivers has a 19-26 record as head coach of the Bucks, which is now 19-27. So F the Bucks, F Doc, F Giannis. Oh, by the way, Dame Lillard. Oh, what a great acquisition he was. Did you see his line in the box score, Skaz? 35 minutes, 4 of 15, 1 of 8 from three-point, and a -14, and his turnovers were only 3, but a -14 off of 4 of 15 shooting. Where was he closing the game? Where was he? I missed him making shots to close the game. I thought he was this great closer. That's why he came from Portland to a championship team, because he's this great, iconic closer who never had anything around him. And away we go. It's Dame Lillard. Now he's got a star, and he can be that 1A. He can be the 2. Like, where is it? Where's all this love for Dame Lillard? Where is it, Skaz?
I'm right
Where
there
is
with
it?
you. And
Tell me where it is.
I'll tell you where it is. It's on the Celtics. It's a guy named Drew Holiday who, in the final 90 seconds of that game, hit 2 clutch free throws, forced a turnover, and had an offensive rebound. Those are winning plays by a winning player. And when you get rid of a guy like that for a guy like Dame Lillard, who's a traffic cone on defense and doesn't want to work out with Giannis all summer, this is what you get. And while we're doing the Bucks thing, the New England Patriots have more wins than the Milwaukee Bucks do now, and the Milwaukee Bucks' 2 wins are against the Jazz, who are in last place in the West, and the Philadelphia 76ers, who are in last place in the East. So things are not going well in Milwaukee.
No, they're not. The holiday plays are great. The lockdown defense with under 90 seconds to go. The rebound, and here's the basketball awareness of Holiday. Gets the rebound and then bounces it off a Bucks player so that the Celtics can reset. That is great court awareness. And probably if we want to transition to, I think I'm done yelling about Giannis. I'm not sure. And Dame Lillard and Doc. I think they just, it doesn't work. It doesn't work in Milwaukee. They should have known it. Like, the pace of the Bucks is so different because you can tell Giannis wants to run. And Lillard's like, no, let's set up. Let's take our time. Let's do 20 seconds. Let's wear down the shot clock. Let's do, 24 seconds. Let's slow the game down. And Giannis is like, let's run. Just doesn't work. They had one highlight, and it was Lillard tossing it above Horford because Horford can't really jump. And if Giannis isn't, 7 feet tall and has a wingspan of 7'6", it goes into the second row. So, but let's slow it down so I can get my 101 ISO. Maybe I'll run a pick and roll. Maybe, but let's slow it down. Let's calm it down because I need to get my stuff. You're 4 for 15. You suck. As a player, not as a person. I can't speak to you as a person, but as a player. I have to clarify that now because personal attacks. I don't want to get for personal attacks. But Giannis, as a player, child. Absolute child. Can I tell you the key play that I thought beyond Holiday was really a key in this basketball game? About 2 minutes to go, White gets the ball, and he slows it up the court. Picks up the ball, pass to Brown, drives, pass back to White, kick to Horford, over to Holiday, who drives and then kicks out for an open Tatum 3, makes it, and that's really your ball game right there. That was the play for me that clinched it.
Yeah, and I know it's not one play, but just the team defense in the second half, they allowed 38, I think, the entire second half after allowing basically 70 in the first half. And first half defense is something that's somewhat, I would say small C concern, because with this Celtics team, with their talent and everything, most things are small C concern right now. But first half defense is something that they need to tighten up, and I was happy to see them do that in the second half. And this is what this Celtics team is. They come back from 20 points down and they win ball games because that's how good they are. So it's just, this is the difference between this team and Celtics teams of 2 years ago, 3 years ago. They are just better than a lot of teams in the league. And if they play even their B- game, they can still pull out wins.
Sean Grandy, of course, had the tweet because he had the stat. 40 points in the first quarter for the Bucks. I think 18 of those were Giannis. And then the Bucks had 38 in the second half. Celtics win 113-107. Boston is 9-2. Milwaukee is 2-8. But slow down, Skaz. We have to make sure that we're at a good pace for Dame Lillard so he can miss shots. So slow it down. Slow it down. And Giannis, by the way, my last thing on the Bucks game and Giannis. How do you turn your back on Derek White? There was a play late. It was the Derek White 3 that put the Celtics up 104-99. And I understand you got to defend Tatum, but have you seen Tatum and White play the 2-man game? Tatum is going to get Derek White the basketball, and more times than not, Derek White is going to hit the shot. So Giannis was lazy. He reacted poorly on defense. But he's a child.
I would also say he was poorly coached in that situation as well to not know that.
Who's the coach of the Bucks again, guys? Just
That would
remind
be
me.
Glenn Doc Rivers.
Glenn Doc Rivers. Yep, he should have his doctorate revoked. I think I was going to use a term that's vastly inappropriate. I think my thoughts on the Bucks are over with.
Yeah, I would agree. The Bucks don't deserve any more of our time.
I would agree. I would agree. And so it's actually funny because I did see Garnett and Pierce talking about if Doc Rivers is on the hot seat. I got to listen to that podcast.
Oh, I have not heard that yet.
Those are two. I saw the title on YouTube. I'm like, I got to listen to that one. All right, guys. Warriors game. I sucked up the first 10 minutes of this podcast. Warriors thoughts, and I'll react to how you saw the Warriors beating the Celtics the other night.
Yeah, obviously, I want to start with the Warriors because I think they deserved it. I know you're not a big Steve Kerr guy, but I thought Steve Kerr had a tremendous game plan. Take all the Tatum revenge game stuff out of it. Steve Kerr knows how good Jason Tatum is. Whether you as a Celtics fan want to believe that or not, fine. He knows Jason Tatum is a planet player, and he treated Jason Tatum like a planet player, double teaming him, blitzing him, pick and roll blitz, everything. They were sending everything at Tatum in the first half, and we're obviously big Missoula guys, but I think it took Joe a little too long to adjust. Obviously, in the second half, things looked a little different. Celtics were able to battle back, but to me, it comes down to the defense in the first half again, and Missoula realizing, and this was something that we noticed on Friday night too against Brooklyn, too many passengers almost when Jalen's not there and Porzingis isn't there. I know Pritchard has a green light, but there were times in that game where I thought, Al should be shooting more. Pritchard should be shooting more. I know Cade is out there. He's not a guy that's going to shoot, but when Jalen's out, other guys need to, and I know you defer to your superstars. That's how the NBA works, but I thought there were a little too many passengers on the Celtics, and I think you might have tweeted it, that Missoula was literally yelling at guys to shoot threes during the last couple games. So that was something that stood out to me. Just the team when, Jalen is out, they need to step up a little bit more. And the Warriors bench went, I have it here. The Warriors bench went 9 of 16 from 3, 56%. The Celtics bench went 5 of 16 from 3, 31%. That's the difference in your ball game. If you're not playing defense and you're not hitting your threes, the Celtics aren't going to win because their identity is shooting threes and playing good defense. So credit to Steve Kerr. The Celtics battled back. That's a tough one. The biggest play that people were probably harping on was Tatum late in the game, missing Buddy Hield. I know that was something you wanted to focus on. He just complete mental lapse, inexcusable.
Didn't rotate through.
Didn't rotate through. Small hiccups, but the Warriors, I don't want to. They're good. I don't want to say they're legit, title contenders yet because they got beat by the Cavs by like 70 the next night. But they clearly came into that game motivated. People were saying they hadn't played a good team yet, and they came into Boston and beat you again. So a rough night for the Celtics, but no real major red flags for me out of that game.
I think the key point from my perspective is Steve Kerr came in with a game plan, and Steph Curry, the star player, came in looking to defend his coach. And I feel like Kerr was more active. I felt like Kerr took this game personally because he wanted to defend his coach coming into Boston. And it's the question, like, if Steve Kerr has a Celtics hatred, which I think he does to a degree, it's Steve Kerr coming in here and be like, no, F you. Like, we beat you for the title 2 years ago. Yes, you blew us out in a regular season game by 50 because we had a bad night and we decided not to guard Jaylen Brown. And it was really a lot of Steph Curry sticking up for his head coach. And if you have your star player sticking up for your head coach, that goes a long way. That goes a very long way. And one of the things that I've noticed is that the Celtics they could not keep up with the Warriors' constant movement on offense and on defense. And I think that's the real... That's one of the bigger stories. The other thing is because I pay attention to this because I think Missoula and the coaching staff are outstanding at the open and wide open 3-point shots that they get. So open 3-pointers is when the nearest defender is 4 to 6 feet. Wide open 3-pointers there are no defenders within 6 feet of the player shooting. Wide open 3-pointers against the Warriors, 13 for 25. That's 52%. Wide open 3-pointers are 5 for 20, which is 25%. The Celtics do not shoot that percentage with wide open 3-pointers. They have been top 3 in the league the last 2 years under Joe Mazzulla. So that is something that the Celtics, if they're going to win, they're going to have to cash in on those wide open 3-pointers, and they didn't that night.
And I
But
think
I kind of expect to see, like, it wouldn't surprise me if I saw the Warriors in the finals, and whether it's getting Giannis or Dame Lillard to add into it, like, I could see it, but I wouldn't want to touch Dame Lillard or Giannis at this point.
yeah, and just on that wide open 3-point shooting stat, I think, a lot of this is Sam Hauser's really struggled out of the
Yep.
gate. He had a game
He
the
did
other
that
night where
last
he
year
was
too.
Yeah, so slow start. Jalen's, I think, struggled a little bit from 3.
Yep.
Obviously, he was banged up, but I think his
Hip.
shooting has been down a little bit. The hip, yeah. Happy to see him back out there today. But yeah, it's pretty much just been Pritchard. It's been Pritchard and Tatum carrying this team, and of course, Derek White's been good too. But Holiday has struggled shooting as well to start the season. So I thought today was good to see Holiday, make those big plays late. That's what he's known for. Hopefully, start to shoot the ball better. But when it comes to that Warriors team, it's just they're well coached and they have a planet player. And in that league, you can win on any single night if you have a planet player.
I'll tell you the other thing, Payton Pritchard, and this kind of transitions to the Nets game, a comment that Joe Mazzulla made after the Nets game. And I want to play something that he talked about in regard to Sam Hauser that I think is a big picture Celtics thing. Joe Mazzulla says he sees Payton Pritchard as a 3-level scorer. And I have, until he said that, I'm like, I don't really think of him. I think of him as, making half court shots and, instant offense off the bench. But now, like, I've got it in my brain is I've got to look more for Payton Pritchard getting that stop on the elbow jumper or cashing in on a contested layup, stuff like that I have to really, like, think about more instead of just like, oh, it happened and I've moved on. Because I didn't think of him as a 3-level scorer, but if they think of him that way, and he's a pain in the tail about defense, like, and it's just like it's like Maz called him a YMCA player years ago, but like there's a little, like, I played a handful of Y ball, I played a handful of basketball, but those like, I'm the dirty guy who kind of digs the point of the elbow right in there, like, and kind of like try to swat up instead of swatting down. Like, there's all these little, like, details to that. But like Payton Pritchard, yeah, he might be the Y player. But if that's your 6th man, and by the way, Scal, I heard you say that you started this whole Payton Pritchard for 6th man campaign. You didn't. You didn't. You just didn't. And you're not really a Celtic guy, but that's
That would be one Joe Murray, I believe, started that before the season even tipped off.
Yep, I wanted you to say it.
I think Joe Murray got it at like plus 4,000 as well, so he has the proof too.
Yes,
just if we're taking notes, Scal.
He has the receipts, as they like to say, as the kids like to say, because I am not a kid. But I didn't think of Payton Pritchard as a 3-level scorer. So now I'm going to pay a little bit more attention to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something I've really ever thought of either, but not when you're mentioning it, I do remember he does the little drop, right around the elbow, puts his shoulder into the guy. Sometimes he'll even do like the fadeaway from this, like Dirk Nowitzki-esque almost, and he's had some really big layups the last couple of games as well. He's just, I was a guy who thought Payton Pritchard, nice, 3-point specialist, 8th guy off the bench the last couple of years, and he's just a gym rat. Every time you think he's, kind of reached where he should be in the NBA, where his potential should be, he just keeps climbing. So 6th man of the year for Payton Pritchard. I'm all in. I mean, he's done nothing but show that he deserves to at least be in the conversation through the first, 11 games of the season.
Right now it's him or Buddy Hield. That's what I would say. I want to play something from Joe Mazzulla because this one caught my ear. This is after the Nets game on Friday night. And I have another point about the Nets that I want to get to also, and it relates to Jason Tatum. But the key phrase to hear is what Mazzulla says. And it's, we live by principle, not by feeling. Let me add to this and let me hit play over here and play. That is the point right there. Joe Mazzulla is big on living by principle, not feeling. And that is kind of part of the NBA eco philosophy right now, is that they're going to huck up 53 pointers a night because that is the best shot. That is the wide open shot. We mentioned the Warriors open and wide open shots. That's of the 3-pointers, there's 45 of them that are open or wide open. And this again goes back to last year where Mazzulla is grilling Washburn and being like, how come you don't ask me about contested layups? Right. And it's because we're mentally built that the layup is the easiest shot. But if all you've got down there is 7-footers, maybe it's not. Maybe you have to design plays to do this. So I think for the regular season, this applies, right? This is the regular season application of we live by principle, not by feeling. And then when they get to the playoffs, they're going to try as best they can to live by principle. But if Sam Hauser isn't getting it done, if Payton Pritchard isn't getting it done, if Xavier Tillman isn't getting it done, like there's going to be a switch out of that 6, 7, 8, 9 guy rotation. And they're going to have to. But like if you're talking about the regular season for basketball, this is what it's going to be. It's going to be 53s a night, and Hauser going 1 for 11 on a night. And that's just how it's going to be. So that's the key, though, is that they're defending. Because I think they can live with the missed 3-pointers as long as they're defending. An example is today in the Bucks game, because I'd have to look at what the Celtics shot in the first quarter of that game, but I think it was pretty bad. First quarter report, they were 7 for 17, so that's 40%. So that's not terrible. But they're going to shoot themselves out of games. But if they keep their defense up, they'll be fine. But we live by principle, not by feelings, guys.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I think obviously people want to talk about the 3-pointers. That's where the main focus is. Whether it's too many threes, not enough threes, whatever people's angle is, but it really does come down to the team defense at the end of the day. And if you look at last year's team, the numbers are a little bit skewed because they had so many blowouts, because they were up by 20, 30 in so many games. But through 3 quarters last season, they were 1 and 2 in team defense. They were right at the top of the league. They were an elite defensive team last year, but that gets overshadowed because of, they were a historically good offensive team last year. So, and there's a reason Luka shot like 1 for 25 from 3 in the finals or whatever it is. Like, it's not all offense. They realize the balance. Jason Tatum is an elite defender. The Celtics' ascension to championship level team was, I don't want to say largely hinged on, but a big part of it was Jaylen Brown also getting on Jason Tatum's level defensively and, playing both ways on a nightly basis. That was a huge reason why they were able to finally get over the hump, was Jaylen Brown elevating his game to the level of Jason Tatum. And so that's just something they're going to need this year. Drew Holiday's a little older. Al Horford's a little older. I'm a little worried about Xavier Tillman with he doesn't seem like he can shoot the ball too well, and the defense hasn't been great to start the season either. So you wonder if there's a small minimal move they could make. But yeah, it's about defense and shooting the 3, and that's how they live and die. And I think it's pretty successful. I'm okay with the philosophy, the principle.
Yeah, I've become fine with it because it's getting the open shot. And that's the important thing. Like, so for example, in this Nets game, the Celtics were 4-14, 29% for open 3-pointers, and wide open 3-pointers, they were 10 for 31. That's not their usual percentage. And if they make more of those, then you're not going down to the wire with the Nets. You're not going to overtime with the Nets, which leads me to this, guys, because Max brought this up on the radio. Tatum barking at the refs and picking up technical fouls does not help him at the end of these games. And despite the fact that the NBA 2-minute report said that Tatum was not fouled at the end on his drive to the basket, he got the running start down the lane, he dunked it for the tying basket at the time. Tatum barking at the refs does not help him at the end of these games, because even if Claxton, like Max thought it could have been called a foul, I think it could have been called a foul, but if the ref is like, no, F you got to deal with this because you've been barking at me all night, that hurts the Celtics and that hurts Jason Tatum. And so Tatum's got to dial it back on the refs, because in a game like that, because now it should be an and one. Maybe it should be an and one. And you don't have to go to overtime. And it saves you 5 minutes of overtime. It saves you from a game being in doubt. And so Tatum's got to kind of calm it down a little bit, because Tatum goes to the line, he hits the free throw. Now you're up one. The Nets miss the game, the go-ahead shot. You don't have to foul, like whatever the case is, but it saves you 5 minutes of overtime. So Tatum's got to kind of like tone it down just a touch.
Yeah, I'm with you. He has 4 technicals already through like the first 10 games. He's on pace to get to his 16th, was a suspension by, the midway point of the season. That's just, you can't have that. And while we're on the technical thing too, and look, I'm as big a Jason Tatum guy as anybody. Can we have Payton Pritchard or Derek White shoot the free throw, the technical free throw going forward? It's a very small thing. I know superstars love to do it, but just let Derek White or Payton Pritchard take the technical free throw. It's 1 point, Jason. You're going to find it somewhere else through the course of the night. Just give it to one of those guys, the best free throw shooters on the team, and let's move on.
Yeah, I agree. Because they could have gone into overtime with the lead against the Nets, right? If Tatum hits his free throw, which is, like, I don't know how that works.
It was very bizarre, but yeah,
it's weird because it's like, okay, it happens after the buzzer, so you can go into overtime leading, but wouldn't that just be the end of the game? But it was in the I didn't totally understand it, and I didn't bother to look it up. Tatum MVP watch, because this is what we do. Pro Basketball Reference has Tatum listed at the start of today as number 3. Jokic has a 73% chance of winning it. SGA an 8% chance. Tatum with a 7% chance. Tatum right now in the league is 6th in player impact estimate. Jokic 1, Anthony Davis 2, Giannis 3, Sabonis with the Kings 4, not even on Maz's top 20 list, and SGA 5 with Tatum number 6.
Yeah, I think it's all fair. I think Tatum has had a better start to his season than SGA. I know the SGA people, and I love SGA. I think SGA is a top 5 player in the league, top 6 player in the league. I watch the games. He's not better than Jason Tatum. He just isn't. He doesn't play as good a defense. He's not a good a passer. He's a great player. OKC is also loaded too. That never gets brought up when like the Tatum's loaded team always gets brought up. But yeah, I think Jokic is a different animal. He's a different beast. He's having nights where he's having 20, 20, and 15 and stuff like that. So Jokic should be the MVP as of right now, but Tatum's right up there. If they keep winning, I think he's going to be there all season, and just another all NBA season for, ho-hum. That's all this guy does is win and rack up awards.
Skaz, you got anything in your notes before I get to my final 2 thing, which has to do with the Cavs and some Lakers dirt?
I would love the Cavs and Lakers dirt, but I have one small thing, and this is more of a wider basketball thing. This is for the people. I think you may know some of these people that say the NBA is being ruined by the three-pointer. The three-point percentages are, well, yes, them too, are being ruined by the three-pointer, all this stuff. These are stats as of yesterday, that just simply the stats. That's all. The NBA's top 5 offenses this season are 1st, 16th, 20th, 23rd, and 3rd in three-point rate. Last year, the top 5 were 1st, 18th, 21st, 17th, and 30th in three-point rate. So you have teams that are 21st, 30th, 23rd, 20th, all within the top 5 offenses in the league at the way bottom half of shooting three-pointers. So the people that say the NBA is boring, it's just chucking threes, just admit you don't watch the league or you just don't like basketball, because it's just simply not true. I mean, say whatever you want, but the numbers are there. That's just facts. So however you feel about it, fine. But the NBA, I think, is just about as good as it's ever been. They're unbelievable. Whether you like the teams take a lot of threes, fine. But just saying that that's all they do, Nikola Jokic isn't shooting 23s tonight. Anthony Edwards is. That's a story for a different day. He's taking more threes than literally anybody right now, which I think is something we can get into with the Timberwolves in a couple weeks. But the NBA, there are multiple ways to win and teams are showcasing it. Maybe the team you're watching on most nights isn't showcasing it, but it's just for the people that are out there that have the anti 3-point, vendetta. Simply the numbers. That's all.
I think those people also have like, ooh, he dunked it. Oh, he dunked it. Or they hand checked in the Jordan era. Hand checking. The teams in
Yes.
the 80s,
Yeah.
they pass too much. I bet it's that same crowd. Anywho, bitter people.
Yeah.
Just
It's
looking
weird
for
how they
things to
never
do.
bring up that the final scores of the final scores of those games were like 145 to 135, and no one ever talks about the lack of defense back then.
No. Pass too much. I don't even know if that's accurate or not. I just made that
Yeah.
up. and then they in the 90s they had too much defense and they had to manipulate that, and it's how the league goes. Like there'll be some manipulation that'll get more balance over time, and that's that the good leagues adjust when it's gone too far one way, and that's the great thing about sports. So couple things about the Cavs, because realistically, Skaz, as you brought up, like this should be a pretty easy week. Like the play-in tournament stuff, you've got Hawks, Nets, Raptors. The Nets are, as Grandy and Max put it on the radio, they're the island of misfit toys. They gave you a run on Friday night. Maybe that'll have some. I'm the Jack in the Box that doesn't spring. Great voice by Grandy at the time. But there's not a lot. There might not be a lot there. The game that we're looking at is the Cleveland Cavaliers, and people go, "Oh, well, why are the Cavs doing so well?" It's because they brought in a coach who the players will buy into, and that's Kenny Atkinson. And also a coach, and this was brought up to me by somebody who's in coaching circles, Alex Sarama, and I butchered that name, but he is a skills acquisition. He's a skills coach. And those two came into Cleveland and have gotten their players to buy into this new kind of different philosophy of NBA training and how they run an NBA franchise. It's a lot more about strength conditioning, less about muscle memory. OKC has a similar ecosystem set up, and it's called an ecological approach. Now, can I break it down like in depth without making your eyes glaze over? No. But this is a thing that's happening in the NBA right now. The Celtics have this same philosophy or similar philosophy, a similar identity to this. But it still comes down to you have to have the coach and the players match. You have to have the coach and the players buy into the whole program, and then they have to go out and execute it. And Cleveland is doing that. And Kenny Atkinson is a really good coach. And he was an assistant on the Warriors team that won the title 2 years ago. People forget, they didn't know, they didn't care because it's a coach, and I get it. But it's all about match. You got to match the coach with the player, and that's where the key thing comes into play. Kenny Atkins was a really good coach with the Brooklyn Nets. And then they got Kyrie and Durant, and Kyrie ruined it because Kyrie didn't agree with Atkinson's philosophy. And Kyrie got him fired from the Nets. And I know that as fact because from somebody in real time, I think I said it on Felger and Maz, told me that Kyrie wanted this guy gone. Somebody told me, by the way, that Kyrie wanted Brad Stevens gone at one point. Yep, you're shaking your head, Skaz. You're right to shake your head. Because Brad Stevens is a really good coach, and Danny Ainge and the Celtics told Kyrie we're not doing that here. That might be part of why Kyrie soured.
So they could replace him with Steve Nash and see how well that goes.
Hey, you know it, bro. You know it. But Kenny Atkinson, really good coach. I'm happy that he's getting success. I'm happy that he got a ring with Golden State. But Kyrie got him fired. So who are you going to pick in that one? I'd pick the coach. I'd tell Kyrie to go to another league or go to another team, I should say. Yeah, I don't want to. Here's my Lakers dirt. So I do know as fact, I will state this as fact because I have a really good Lakers source on this one. JJ Redick, despite his antics, especially when the player that he wants to shoot doesn't shoot and takes his frustrations out on a chair, D'Angelo Russell, he's really well respected in the room. But he also really believes that basketballs, if they're not conditioned properly, hurts his team. That's a real thing. He's really petitioning the league to make sure that all of the basketballs that get in his game are properly broken in. And he really believes that that is a detail that is hurting his team. The other thing that I'll tell you is D'Angelo Russell's time in Los Angeles is numbered. He was pulled from the starting lineup the other night. And there are talks that he's going to be part of a bigger package to get either Zach LaVine or Dame Lillard. And I don't know how that works, but I mean, Zach LaVine feels like a perfect Laker. Dame Lillard does not. Dame Lillard, I think, needs to go back to Portland, where he can be the star in a mid-market and just, cruise his way into the Hall of Fame. But that's my Lakers dirt.
That's the JJ stuff I find fascinating just because of the JJ LeBron relationship, and they've been okay. Honestly, Anthony Davis has been incredible to start the season. If he could stay healthy, he'd be right up there with the MVP rankings, but he won't. I think they're getting Rui back soon. I think he's been a little banged up, so Lakers are going to hang around. Dalton Connect's been pretty good, but that is the JJ Redick stuff is I'm going to love to hear Jay Stu's Redick updates throughout the season because it just feels like we're going to get some stories out of there, whether it's Redick and the players, whether it's LeBron and Redick versus some of the players, or if it's, AD gets hurt and LeBron takes some time off. How can JJ, try and keep them in playoff contention with the older guys out? So, yeah, as a Celtics fan, you're always somewhat interested in the Lakers, but I think they are a little extra interesting this year with the JJ Redick tie-in.
Yeah, and it's a little personal to me because it's because I've said this before, like the Redick LeBron podcast was amazing to me because I love learning X's and O's about the game. And I thought it would be a good conversation with Felger and Maz, or it would go sideways. And it went sideways. And so now there's a personal tie-in and it's Lakers and so on, so on, so on. So, the evil brain of Jay Stu, which is very evil. But you know what? Giannis is a child, quote unquote, from Jaylen Brown. Skaz, any final thoughts?
No, Jay Stu. I think we covered just about everything. Obviously, a little lighter this week with some not so great matchups for the Celtics, but we got a big one next week. A week from Tuesday night, we got the Cavs, and I'll be looking forward to that one.
Yeah, I will be too. Happy green teaming, I guess, this week, and just remember that Giannis is a child.